Okay, so I guess we can start now. So hi everyone, thank you very much for coming to our event tonight. So just to introduce what we'll be talking about today, so we're going to briefly go over the application process, go to UK and Ireland, as well as discuss the IELTS exam. So I guess our first speaker can go.
Hello everyone, my name is Azad Mohammed. I'm a 404 MD, currently applying, going through the process of applying to Ireland. So I'm just going to run through a quick summary on the application process and what you need to know and be aware of. So this is the main slide that you should probably pay attention to when you're going back through this in the future. It's all the main deadlines. This is the most recent and updated one that was given to me. As you can see, there's 3 different stages. I'll go into more detail each stage as we go through. There are the kind of deadlines, the time and dates. You need to get familiar with them, have the paperwork, etc., all that sort of stuff ready. And like I said, I'll go through each stage step by step. But when you are going back through this slide, this is an important one just so you can know where your deadlines and everything is. So stage 1, it's an online application. It opens at the end of October for about 10 to 14 days. For me, it was 2 weeks that it was open for, 23rd of October to the 6th. And now this is just mainly an online application. So your name, contact information, university, your previous studies, all these sort of things. They kind of ask. As far as paperwork goes, there is 2 sections, Section D and Section E. Section D is a conferral and central confirmation date. This has to be signed by the Dean's office, and you have to include this with your online application. Now, this form, the Section D, sometimes they do have it up on the website. For me, it wasn't on the website until the day the application opened. So once the application opened, I made sure I downloaded it, sent it to the Dean's office, let them know this was need to be done immediately. And to be fair, they got it done within the next day, and I had that ready. That's the only thing you need to get done with the Dean's office in regards to stage 1. Section E then is just the IET payment. We'll get more into IET, what that is, but you just have to make a €200 payment. There's a form you have to fill out, which is the Section E about the payment. And then you must also include a screenshot or whatever else of the actual transaction done. Again, when you are applying, all this information will be given to you step by step on what you need to do. And so, like I said, contact information, name, all that sort of stuff, the 2 forms, Section D and Section E, and a scanned copy of your passport. These are all the things you need to have ready for the day of the application, and it's all done online. You upload everything and you send that away, and that's basically stage 1 complete, and you have 14 days to do that. So moving on, stage 1. So once you send your application with all the things that I've just mentioned that you've sent in, you get to this stage. This is the intern employment eligibility test. So the next communication you'll receive is whether your application is eligible or not. Now, this exam is necessary for students who are graduating from universities outside of Ireland, regardless if you're EU, non-EU. You have to take this exam if you did not graduate in a medical university within Ireland. And so they'll let you know that you're eligible for it. I got the email on the 8th of December, and they just basically said, you're eligible, and they give you details of when the exam is. So the IET is in 2 parts. First part is in January. For me, it's going to be on the 8th of January, and the second part is in February, and they said that's the 5th. Again, the first slide I showed you has all these deadlines. So if you're unsure of everything, just go back and look through that. So to get a bit of detail about the test, now I haven't obviously taken it yet myself, but from research and speaking to other alumni and whatever else, they've said that it's heavily emphasized on professionalism, ethics, and just basic knowledge of the Irish medical law and healthcare. And medical knowledge is not directly tested. Now, they expect you to know it, your medical knowledge to be up to standard. They don't actually directly test it. It's mainly about the ethics, the laws, how the Irish healthcare system works, and without the best resource you can use. And even when they sent me the email about the test, they also recommended me this resource. It's the Medical Council's Guide to Professional Conduct and Ethics for Registered Medical Practitioners. And the link is there if you want to download it. It's very easy to find online anyways. It's about a 50-page manual booklet, and it goes through all the Irish laws, ethics, medical practice things that you should be familiar with. So go through these and notice back to front. And obviously another great way to learn is to do your electives in Ireland. I've completed all my electives here just recently, and I don't think there's anything better as far as books go in regards to actually being in the hospital. You understand the different kind of systems in England, I would imagine, but they do have their own laws, their own sort of systems, and it is something that you will have to get familiar with. Writing prescriptions, discharge letters, referral letters, all these sort of things you can all learn during your electives, and these are the sort of things that they will ask you in the exam. So it's nice to be familiar with that. They also provide you with a national formulary reference. On this slide, it's saying British National Formulary, the BNF. In prior years, they've been using the BNF, but for me, this year, they told me they have their own Irish one. And again, they give you a login details, and you can log on to that, and you have it during the exam as well. It's basically just a reference for drugs, drug interaction, and things like that. So get familiar with that. So on the day of the exam, you can just easily reference it. And so again, medical knowledge, even if you're a bit iffy on the drug and the prescription they want, you can always just use the reference. So it's not really a big thing about the knowledge. It's more so how you write the prescription. What information did you include? Discharge letter, referrals, ethics laws, again, all that sort of stuff. That's important for part one. It's written. And then part two is just an OSCE. I'm not sure exactly how it works in regards to the stations, but it's based on situational assessments. So they give you different scenarios, whether it's an SHO or a reg or a consultant or with a difficult patient, and they just want to see how you deal with that situation. There's no physical examinations, no medical testing, there's nothing like that. Only situational scenarios with difficult patients or colleagues, and they just want to see how you deal with that. So again, the guide of professional conduct and ethics will also help for part two. So without doubt, that booklet's the best for both parts. So moving on to the next slide. So once you've completed stage one, they'll let you know about the IET test. Once you finish your IET test, part one and part two, and you've passed them, you move on to stage two. And stage two application opens in early March. Now, the documents you need to have ready for stage two is proof of passing of your IELTS. In Ireland, you just need to have a band score overall of greater or equal to 7, with at least a 6.5 in each section. You also need your BLS cert, and when you do your I'm losing my train of thought here, but you can get this BLS cert through the university when you do your emergency medicine module. That's what I was looking for. When you do your emergency medicine module and all that stuff, you can get that cert pretty handy. So have that ready. And then section E and section F, these are two forms also I'd imagine are only available when stage two actually opens. Section F must be signed and witnessed by a solicitor and notary public and Garda vetting. So again, this is delivered to you when the stage two opens. So these are documents that you need to be filled out as soon as you can once that application opens. The only things you can do in regards to the sections, well, outside the sections, is the BLS cert and the IELTS. You can have these two things prepared well before stage two even opens. And once stage two opens, you can get onto the forms that they offer you, and you just fill them out and send that in. So once you send all that in, you then rank your posts across the country, 1 to 50, and they'll also ask you for a submission of your centile, which is required in May. So again, just be familiar with the deadlines, the emails they send you, and the sort of paperwork you need to be up to date on. So yeah, moving on to the next slide. Yeah, stage 3, again, this is, you've done all the main part. This is just a waiting game now. You've done your stage 1, you've done your IEE test, you've done stage 2, and you've put your rank and post on and everything. Now you just have to wait until they get back to you in regards to your full application. And so in the meantime, while you're waiting for your verdict on this, you have to do a registration with the Irish Medical Council. So if we go to the next slide, we'll continue talking about that. So towards the end of April, you have about a month to complete this online registration. Now this is something separate to the intern. This is just something you have to do as part of the intern application. But it's its own separate council, if that makes sense. So you complete this online application, print the cover sheet, registration fee, and simple stuff again, scanning your passport page, getting the letter from your university, and an English copy of your diploma. That's why this is usually opened towards the end of April. So they give you a chance to get your degree or your diploma. So once you're finished your last module or exam, try and get your diploma, even a copy of it, and get it notarized and have it ready to be sent. You can get your diploma before you even graduate in regards to just the paperwork aspect of it. So again, just be aware of that and be in contact with the Dean's office for that. So the cover sheet, again, you just fill that out, send that to the medical council, and they're usually straightforward enough in regards to that. So once you have that sent as well, again, you just wait for your response in regards to stage 3. So if you go to the next slide, it just basically is, your offer will arrive in mid-June, and you must confirm or accept this post by email, and that's really it. Like, make sure you know the deadline again when you get the offer, because when you get matched, you only have a certain amount of time before you can accept it, or else it just be as a decline. You'll give it to somebody else, because there is a lot of people trying to get in, as you know. So yeah, I think that's really it in regards to everything. So go to the next slide. Yeah, these are just some useful links that I've added in for you guys. And again, resources and books and whatnot, stage 1 applicators, a lot of information on the HSE website in regards to the application process. Like I said, I'm still only going through it myself at the moment, and the only information I did get is from alumni and very few people that did manage to or bother to apply to Ireland. But as far as the stages go, yeah, all the information is on the HSE website, and those are the useful links you can use if you want to go back through this PowerPoint. So that's everything on behalf of me and applying to Ireland. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them and try and answer them for you, hopefully.
As there is one question now, it is it necessary to have electives in Ireland to secure a spot in any of the residency programs?
No, it's not necessary at all. You can do your electives wherever you like. They don't ask you where you've done your electives. They don't really pay any attention to that in any sense. The only reason I mentioned why it would be good to do it is purely for your own benefit for the IEET exam, because you can read about the ethics and laws and all that sort of stuff, but being in the system itself can't be beaten. Getting that knowledge of being in the system will help you. Now, again, there's a lot of people that'll be applying for UK, Ireland, wherever, a lot of different places. So there's no real strain on having to do your electives here. But if you're hell bent on coming to Ireland, then I would recommend doing your elective here just to get that exposure. But no, not at all. The booklet will do the job for you if you read it carefully. And, again, it's basic ethics and laws and healthcare system stuff. So hopefully you should be all right. But there's no necessity to do it. Definitely not. Anything else? Your centile, I'm guessing you're saying your centile. It does matter a bit, yeah, like it does matter a bit. I think the only grades they count is your final year. So they don't even look at your previous year. They look at your final year, and based on your grades on your last NBME or your last 2 NBMEs, they'll give you a centile on that. But again, it's not a huge factor. The main thing is getting through the IEET test. That's the main thing. If you get through that and you get through the application, that's kind of the main thing. But what's more important about the centile is getting it in at the right time. There's a deadline and when you need to get your centile score in and your conferral date, and it's more important. That's more important, getting that date in time rather than the actual score itself. Just getting the result to them is the most important thing. No problem. Anything else, guys? Yeah, so in regards to resources to the IEEE test, I put a link so you can go back and look at it. It's the main thing was the medical council, yeah, it's here, the medical council ethics, and where did I put this? Sorry, 1 second, guys. Yeah, it's the second last link there. So it's the 8th edition of the Professional Conduct and Ethics. Now, this will go through professional conduct, laws, ethics, healthcare system, and there's a previous slide as well. You don't have to go to it now, but when you are going back through the PowerPoint, you can find it. I've mentioned that, I mentioned it directly, that link to the book. It's easy enough to find the manual, and that's basically the main thing you need to know. You will get an email when you are applying, you will get an email about the test, and they tell you themselves what resources to use. But this is the one that's highlighted to me by the alumni that have gotten back here. They said this is definitely the best one. And within the email I got, they also included this manual. So it seems like this manual is the most important one. And go through that several times, make sure you know your laws and ethics in the Irish healthcare system. And like I said, there's no actual direct question on your medical knowledge. They just expect you to kind of know that. And that's why I mentioned the electives aspect of it. It's not necessary, but if you could get an elective in Ireland, it'll definitely help you understand the Irish healthcare system and give you a better advantage on passing those exams. Can you go back to stage 1? There was a point about non-EU. To go over quickly. Yeah, so the non-EU part, and at stage 1 on the online application, there is a section that is, now I'm not familiar with this, that's why I kind of just scanned it because I didn't have to do this part. But the non-EU part, there is its own little kind of appendix on the HSC manual that will tell you what you have to do. You basically just need to show like that you're able to be within Europe and this sort of stuff, like nothing really to be worried about. And it's just a bit of paperwork that you upload within that application, and it'll tell you what you need to upload on the day. So that's nothing to be too worried about. No problem. In regards to the IELTS, the guys are going to speak about that later, so they'll give you more information about that. But in regards to strictly the Irish process alone, if there's any more questions, I'll happily take them.
Maybe we'll move on, and if you guys have any more questions, you can write it in the chat, and as you can answer it there.
Yeah, no worries. All right. Thanks very much, guys, for your time.
Hi, my name is Mariah, and I'm just going to be talking about how to apply to the UK. I'm currently doing that now, so I'll just get to it. Next slide. So usually the residence in the UK is called the Foundation Programme, UK Foundation Programme, so UKFP. You do that for 2 years, and you'll be doing 6 specialities, so maybe cardiology or pulmonology, and you'll spend 4 months each location. It's usually based in a deanery. There's 20 of them in the UK, and deanery is just the location where you'll be. Like Oxford, there's a couple of hospitals there, or Northwest London, or North East and Central London. That's also a deanery. After the foundation program is done, you'll be trained in a speciality that you choose, and you have to pass probably an exam to go through that speciality. So it'll take 3 years for GP after foundation program, and then for the other specialities, it'll take either 5 to 8 years. Next slide. Okay, this is a bit long, but I'll try and like explain it. So if you're in your penultimate year, so if you're 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 MD and you're a UK and the EU or EU national, you can take the IELTS. Usually make sure that's done before August, and you have to register for ORIAL, and I'll explain what ORIAL is, and the eligibility process that we all have to do, and that will take place from July to September. And then in your final year, if you're in your UK and European national, you go through the ORIAL the main application. You do your SJT, which is your situational judgment test, in December and January. And then depending on your results and your application, you'll be allocated to a deanery in March. And you'll pretty much find out your result from SJT at the same time you're allocated. So it's a bit weird because there's just been a new ruling. So according to last year, if you're in your final year and you're 6 or 6 MD, and you're a non-EU person, you'd have to do the IELTS in your final year and do the whole register of Oreo and the eligibility, and you have to apply for PLAB, and then the first PLAB, and then after graduation, and you're still a non-EU, you have to go through the main application, SJD, take the PLAB and have it passed by February, be allocated to a deanery in March, and then take your PLAB 2 by August. And unfortunately, if you are in the academic year, your final year, 2024 to 2025 or above, you have to take another exam called the UK MLA. So that may, if you don't pass that, you won't be able to be accepted to the foundation program. Next slide, please. So just recently, because of Brexit, they're allowing anyone, even if you're from Timbuktu, as long as you have your primary medical qualification in a European country, you do not have to take PLAB. So you can take your IELTS and apply in your penultimate year, just like the other European people. So yeah, you can just start early instead of starting a year after and waiting a full year for you to start working. Next slide, please. Yeah, so your eligibility is just if you're eligible to go on to UKFP. Because we're not UK medical graduates, we have to go through this process. So it applies to all non-UK medical schools. So all you have to do is register on a website called Oriel, which is a part of UKFP. And you would need your passport, you would need your IELTS, and you'd need your Dean statement. The Dean statement, I think you'd have to email the rota or whoever is in charge of your year. And this needs to usually be complete by August. So this needs to be completed at the end of your third year, so by August. But due to the pandemic, the deadline was extended to September, but I don't know if that's going to happen again. It's only because there were so many things that were closed and they were trying to make arrangements for us. And they also allowed us to send our IELTS separately to their email by October because of the pandemic. So it might not apply for next year. So I really implore you to make sure you have everything done before August, because they might not extend everything. So could you go to the next slide, please? So this is basically what our Dean statement form looks like. It has your decile ranking. This is more of what the office will be doing. It has nothing to do with you, but you'll just send it to the rota or whoever's in charge of your year. Next slide, please. So, sorry, I see questions. So during this year, we had in our Oreo application, there was something that came up called evidence of your right to work in the UK. So if you're not a UK citizen, I would advise you to make sure you have your visa and any kind of working visa sorted out before you apply. They've given a deadline of 25th of February 2021 for my year, because I applied in October. So I don't know if it's going to be the same deadline, but I think that's something that you would need to bring up with Home Office UK. That has nothing really to do with me. Yeah, so we'll have the main application in October, which I'm doing right now. So it's just you'll have your personal, your medical school details, and sorry, let me put that on mute. You'll have your personal and medical school details and that you need to fill in. You will also need to put in your EPM, well, you'll have your EPM score, which I'll explain what it is later. And you need to also email a doctor from POOMS. There's different doctors like Dr. Simnieska and other doctors. So you only need one reference, and they will write that for you, and they'll send a link for them to write something for you. So make sure you have that ready as well. In the application, you also have preferences, so you can put in an order from 1 to 20, what deanery you would like to go to, and then you have some small declaration thing. I didn't read it, but just sign it. So yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so the EPM which I was talking about yesterday is called, last slide was Educational Performance Measurement Score. The total available points is 50, and this just happened a couple of days ago, but I'll explain about the educational achievements. The educational achievements, the max you get is 7 points. So this is if you have an additional degree, max you can get is 5 points. If you have publications, the max you can get is 2 points, 1 point per publication. You would need to have your PubMed ID to input into the oral application. And I think if you had a 2-1, that's like 3 points or something, your degree or a first, or a PhD, that's like 4 or 5 points. You just have to check on the UKFP website. Yeah, so the EPM will also constitute of your class ranking compared to your classmates in medical school. So it's normally from 34 to 43. 34 would be the lowest decile ranking, so it would be 10. 43 is the first decile, so you're the smartest in your year of, I don't know, 10%. So you would have 43 points. For 4MDs, this is for the first 2 years. So I would really implore you to really work hard in the first 2 years if you're 4MD. And the 6MD is first 4 years. So yeah, just make sure you do really well in exams and you really have a high number of points in your EPM score. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so your application score will consist of your EPM, and which is max 50 points, and your SJT, which is max 50 points, which would equal altogether 100 points. So I'll just talk about the SJT in the next couple of slides. Okay, this just happened like maybe 3 days ago, but apparently if you're going to start the UK Foundation program in 2023, meaning you're starting your application process in October 2022, your educational achievements will be removed from the application. They won't put that in the application, so it won't count for anything if you have a degree or if you have any publications. So all they'll be focusing more is on your SJT score, so they might increase those points and have it skewed more to focus on the SJT and your class ranking. So it's your class ranking and SJT score only if you're starting the UK Foundation program in 2023. So that's just happened a couple of days ago. Okay, next slide. So the SJT, the situational judgment test, is like an assessment designed to test the aptitude for employment and professional attributes expected of a foundation doctor. So you're just going to get a bunch of scenarios, and you're going to have to answer them how a doctor would, and you'll get max 50 points from that. As I said, it may change if you're going to be in that year. And usually takes place in December and January, and it's mostly in UK. I think there's like maybe 3 outside of UK, like Paris, Germany, Amsterdam, but I guess just stay in the UK. It's going to be electronic. There'll be 75 questions. Last year it was 70, and so a bit unfair, but yeah, I digress. So that will be 140 minutes. You'll get the results in March the same time as you'll get allocated to your deanery. I don't know if it will continue, but this year they've allowed it to be online as well, so you can do it on home as long as it's being proctored and your laptop or your computer is valid or useful. There'll be lots of dilemmas, such as evolving dilemmas and speech dilemmas. They're going to use video exam questions as well. So I guess you should make sure your laptop mic or your headphone port, your headphone port is working on your laptop. So next slide, please. Okay. What are you being tested on the SJT and how are you scored? So you'll focus more on your commitment to professionalism. So how professional you are in different scenarios, how you're able to cope under pressure, because it is going to be really stressful during that time, how you are effective at communicating with patients and doctors and other senior staff. And it will focus on patients, because patients are a top priority in the hospital. Teamwork, you'll be working with nurses, other doctors, registrars, and yada, yada, yada. So I'm not sure if it's still going to be the same, but usually it's like There's normally 48 scenarios, normally for ranking and rating, and 24 for multiple choice. With ranking, they take away 4 points for, ranking is normally 4 points for each correctly placed answer, but then they take away 1 for each position the answer is away from the correct place. And I've just put a table there of like how it would be marked. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. Also, 10 questions in the exam may be trial questions. You don't know what they are. Just answer every question to your best knowledge. And yeah, so this is a question. This is a ranking question. A patient with newly, okay, yeah, I'll just go through it. A patient with newly diagnosed terminal lung cancer asks to see you on the general medicine ward. He would like to make a complaint about your registrar, whom he feels has failed to offer him treatment that might prolong his life. Rank and order the following actions in response to this situation. 1 equals most appropriate, 5 equals least appropriate. So A, empathize with the patient's traumatic experience and offer to raise the matter with the registrar and consultant. B, defend the registrar's actions, highlighting their knowledge and experience and the generally poor prognosis of most lung cancers, irrespective of the treatment modality. C, explore the patient's concerns further. D, inform the patient that you refer him to the oncologist to consider chemo or radiotherapy. Or E, offer him the services of an appropriate religious leader to address any spiritual questions he may have. I'm going to give you like 10 seconds if you want to if you want to answer it or not, or I can just go to the next slide. I'll just go to the next slide. Okay, so the answer here would be C, A, B, E, D. The main focus here is that you're going to focus on the patient. The patient is top priority. So it's better if you understand what the patient is saying. So you explore what the patient's concerns are further. And then you try and secondly, empathize with the patient and see how he's feeling and offer to raise the matter with the registrar and consultant. And then yeah, there's more reasoning behind it. I'll just go to the next scenario because of time. This is a multiple choice question, so best of 3. You are an FY1 doctor working in the emergency department. A 48-year-old patient presents with an ankle injury. He's intoxicated, loud, and demands immediate medical treatment. There are 4 patients waiting ahead of him. He is upsetting the other patients and at one point threatens another patient with physical violence. Choose the 3 most appropriate actions to take in this situation. I'm not going to read it. It's really long. So I'll just give like maybe 30 seconds or 15 seconds or something. It is kind of late. So if not, I'll just go to the next slide. Yeah, I'll just go next slide. Okay, so the answer is B, C, G. You call the security for assistance, tell the patient that his behavior is appropriate and will not be tolerated, and G, ensure other patients are not distressed by the situation. So it's just more like violence is not accepted and you just want to make sure that everyone is safe. So call security because I'm not going to be fighting anyone. So the security should be the person to be in charge of sorting it out and yeah, just making sure everyone is safe around in the area. Okay, next slide. Tips for SJT. Make sure you manage your time effectively because yeah, it's 75 questions, 140 minutes. You can really lose track of time, and I've been told that people have lost track of time and had to rush towards the end. Yeah, think as an FY1 doctor. Don't think as yourself. Don't think of what you would do, and think of what you should do as an F1 doctor. I would say don't do too much. Don't buy 10 million books. Focus heavily on past papers on UKFPO website, and read the GMC Good Medical Practice book. And there's other documents they have on there about confidentiality, social media. Those are really good things to read. We should know it anyway, to be honest. But it's really helped me understanding what they want from me in the test. Oxford Situation Judgment Test is also a good book to read, but make sure you're focusing more on the past papers because that is what they want of you. Because sometimes, as I said, there's different doctors and there's different people making the book, so it might not be as valid as what is on the past papers. make sure you work through the categories I gave you, such as commitment to professionalism, patient focus. They all follow a pattern, these answers. So it's really good if you focus on that and you have a good strategy. As I said, patient safety always takes priority. And there's this, sorry, give me a second. There is this strategy called, and if not, I would, that you can do with ranking questions. So when you're looking at ranking questions, so it's split into two sections. Will be ranking and rating, and then second section would be multiple choice questions. So you look for logic in the ranking questions. Look for a logical flow between your answers. So sometimes adding the phrase, and if not, I would, can be a helpful way to test this. Another useful strategy for section 2 with multiple choice, you can insert the word and between your three answers, and seeing if the answers make sense joined together is really helpful. And yeah, make sure you do the questions with people around you, because I think there was one past paper that they didn't give answers for, and it's just really good to do it with other people. Okay, next slide, sorry. Yeah, so this is the scores for 2020. We we are the eligibility office, and this year they got like around, yeah, not too good, 33 points. I think it's the lowest, so that's not really good. So last year was a bit better, but I think we tend to be in 35 points, 40 points. But I just make sure you have a good EPM, and that would really help your scoring and everything. But yeah, don't think that you'll get that point because you see it in these scores. You might get higher, you don't know. Just as long as you work hard, so here are the different deaneries. So I've just given you like where they're located and everything, and where you would be. So if you want to be in London, you would put that as your first ranking. And yeah, next slide. Yeah, this is really a big table, but if you go to the second to last part of the table, this is showing you what different schools accepted as the lowest score. And if you can see with London, like high schools, they would expect from your application is 84, 85. So if you'd want to go to London, you'd have to be really high, because that's their lowest score that they're willing to accept. And it might change next year, I don't know, or this year. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so this is just a list of different trusts and hospitals in different areas. And funny thing is, if you were to go to Scotland, you might end up on an island far away. So just think about different where you want to be, and if that's where you want to be. There's a link there, and you can just see the different hospitals in these different locations. Okay, next slide, please. I won't fully go through this because as of January 2021, we won't need to do PLAB, but it will be replaced by UKMLA anyway in 2024. So I've just given you the information there. You can read it later on. Next slide, please. Yeah, so do we have to take PLAB and Brexit? So this is on the GMC website in November 2020, and it's just saying that if we are non-EU national with relevant primary medical qualification from an EEA place, then we no longer need to apply through the existing overseas route. So we don't need to take PLAB from the 1st of January 2021. Okay, yeah, next slide. Yeah, this is just me explaining PLAB in case people do need to take PLAB, but I don't think we do. But yeah, that's the question. There's no need for that. Next slide. Yeah, electives. Electives. Wow. I'm a bit stuck with electives as well because of the whole pandemic. So yeah, the university requires 16 weeks. Start after 3rd year, 5th year. It might improve. It might not. I don't know. So just do more if it's possible. I don't know, pandemic, yeah. But a lot of people are doing research electives, and that I think you can do some electives here in Poland. So it's just really good to get some experience before you start. But the older year said it doesn't, if you can't get an experience, that's fine. You'll still learn the job and you'll be okay. IBSG has some contacts. yeah, like I said, it's really difficult to get an elective in UK. Yep, avoid St. Bart's. If you have any contacts of yourself, within your family or anything, bother them and try and get electives from them. Next slide, please. Okay, so the UK MLA, United Kingdom Medical Licensing Assessments, this is all going to be happening in 2024. You still have to go through the process of IELTS, Oriel, SAT, same as that whole timeline slide. And it's basically going to be like PLAB, but everyone has to take it. UK medical graduates, IMGs, EU nationals. Doesn't matter where, if you're coming to UK early 2024, or if you're in the academic year 2024, and you have to take it in your final year. And yeah, it's going to be like PLAB. It's a pass or fail exam. The syllabus is out. You can do it along with SJT. So yeah, next slide, please. So the UK MLA consists of the applied knowledge test, which is like PLAB 1, on-screen exam, MCQs, different scenarios, testing your medical knowledge. So a bit of revision there, not like SJT. And then second part is going to be like OSCEs, and it's only ran at the Clinical Assessment Centre in Manchester, just like PLAB 2. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah, that's all me. I just gonna check there was a lot of questions popping up, so where do I
perhaps just answer questions in the chat if you can, at the very end if there's still more questions, we'll go through them again just to save time.
Did you say that because of Brexit they cancelled PLAB for non-EU citizens? I'm not sure that's the reason, but I'm not sure that's the reason. They just said they just cancelled PLAB, so that's, I don't know the reason. Will UK MLA be pre-grad exam or post-grad exam? So it'll be in your final year, so it'll be pre-grad. So non-EU people who graduate by 2023 from PUMS can just apply and go directly to FY2 if they want to skip FY1 without having PLAB test. If you graduated by 2023, oh wait, I think Hamza has answered some of these.
Yeah, Mariah, I answered a few. Okay. The only one left was Mitten's question, but you answered it in your slide anyway.
I'm sorry, I'm just reading, and I think Hamza's answered most of these. Okay. Yeah. Lowest score you can get with your EPM. Yep, 34. Yes. So you'd sit it in your final year, so 404. Electives in the UK is kind of important or necessary for not for the application. I think it's more just for the uni, for our university, but nothing really for the application. I'm sorry, I was trying to read the questions and the answers, and I felt like they were already answered. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, just for time, maybe we'll move on.
What if we do badly on SJT and get a total score under 65? We are boned. Your EPM might be good, and also there is a reserve list. So usually people who go on reserve list, they do get a place afterwards. It might be a couple of months later, but if not, you might have to apply again, but there is a reserve list. You can't retake SJT, you can only do it once. Any more questions? Oh, actually, I'll just answer it in the chat. Sorry. Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Hello, guys. We're doing the IELTS, and it's Natasha and
Hamza. Hello.
Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you.
So what is the IELTS? It's basically just an English exam test. It has 4 sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And as Mariah mentioned, the certificate must be obtained before applying. And remember, like, everyone needs this because the GMC and UKFPO, they ask this from us because our clinical years they were not done in English. It was mainly in Polish with a lot of translation. So they need to see that our English, our English language is at a good score level. And it's scored between a 1 and a 9, 9 being the highest. And for the UK, you need a 7.5 minimum in all 4 sections. And then for Ireland, you need a 6.5 minimum in all 4 sections, but a band 7 overall.
So what to keep in mind, it's valid for 2 years. I think someone already mentioned that. And you can do 2 different types of exams. You can either do paper-based or computer-based. With computer, you get the results in 5 to 7 days, so it's a lot quicker. And with paper-based, it takes longer, so 13 days. You have to take the exam in advance, just in case you have to retake it. This is, I want to emphasize this a lot, because a lot of people won't be able to sit the cycle or get a job in 2021 because they did not get their IELTS. So please don't underestimate it. The writing part is the one that trips up a lot of people. So we'll give a few tips at the end.
So it costs 810 zlotys, which is about £180. In Warsaw, and the way you can take it is Warsaw has both computer and paper base. And these other centers like Krakow and Poznan, that's only paper-based. It's taken all over the world, so you can even do it in your home country if you're back home now. And you should do it in your 5th year or of 6 or 3rd or 4. And in Warsaw, there are 2 centers, the British Council and Lang. It's very nice because you have a bigger availability of dates.
Yep, so the first section was listening. And this is split up into 4 sections with 40 questions that have to be answered in 30 minutes. So as you can see, you have section 1 through to 4, and it's different types of conversations that you're listening to. So as you get down into section 4, it becomes more like a university lecture. So you're more likely to get bored or lose motivation. But you have to be careful because each section is only heard once. So you don't get a repeat. Once it's been said, it goes on to the next thing. However, for listening, you do get a chance to read the questions before you listen to the conversation that they're having.
For reading, there are 3 sections with a total of 40 questions in 60 minutes. Each section contains 1 long text, and they're from books, journals, magazines, or newspapers. And the question types will be either true, false, not given. It could be match the heading to the text and a summary completion.
So the next slide is the writing task. This one is what trips everybody up. It's split up into 2 different tasks, task 1 and 2, for the purpose of UK FPO, because we are applying for that specifically, not GMC as foundation doctors. So be aware we have to do the academic exam and not the general. So always stick to academic. For task 1, it's most likely going to be a graph, a table, a chart, diagram, or even a process. So it could be how to make pancakes or something, and you have to describe that. For task 2, so task 1 is 150 words. For task 2, it's a little bit longer, but if you look, it's also 2/3 of the total mark. This is just an essay. There could be 5 different types. I think discussion, opinions, agree or disagree, different types of styles of questions that you have. I've actually listed the 10 most common IELTS writing task 2 topics. So it could be in anything like health, environment, education. You don't have to have any prior knowledge to this, but just knowing a lot of vocab can help you get a better score. Do pay attention to task 2 because it is worth most of the marks. Next slide, thank you.
For speaking, it's basically just an interview, which lasts 15 minutes. There are 3 parts to it. The first one is just introducing yourself and just generic topics. Then for part 2, you'll be given a topic to speak about, and you're given a minute to prepare yourself, and it has to last longer than 2 minutes. Then part 3 is just a follow-up of part 2. Anything that you spoke about in there, he'll ask more questions and it builds to more of a conversation. It can be taken on a different day. So usually like the day before, if your exam is on Saturday, it could be done on a Friday. That was usually the case for paper-based. On computer-based, it's usually done on the same day.
So I have some resources that I used for the IELTS. I started really late because of the pandemic. So I wanted to do my exam in Easter, but then everything shut down. So I didn't manage to start until June time, which was very late. So I was a bit flustered. The first resource that I used was IELTS Advantage. This helped me in just understanding what they wanted in IELTS because I had no idea at the time. It gave me a good sense of structure, how many paragraphs to put in for each task, what to put in those paragraphs, what sentences I should use. IELTS Liz, I used her only for her essay questions. I don't rate her in general, but I think she has a lot of essay questions that she posts on her website, and she also gives like answers to them. So it's good to have a look at what you've done and what she's done, just to see like based where you are. IELTS Buddy is something that me and Hamza both did, and there's 2 books for it. So it's task 1 and task 2. And this helped me plan paragraphs. It helped me with sentence structure, sentence type, like what sort of words I should be including. It was very, very useful. And I found this very late, but I wish I found it earlier. I also, because I was panicking towards September time, I paid a tutor on pre-apply. I think he was really good. I only used it once. And that was just to iron out any other kinks that I had, because I stayed on like a 7. I was not budging. So I used him. And then I also used English grammar YouTube videos just to get a refresh of like where full stops, semicolons, colons go. I know it sounds very basic, but they really mark you down if you get 1 wrong or 2 wrong. So you have to be quite consistent with your style of writing.
For my resources, I used E2 Language IELTS. I think this is the best thing to use to start off with, because you can watch the videos with Jay. That's the man up there. He's really good at explaining what the examiner is looking for, what sort of writing to do, what kind of words and sentences to use. But again, the best preparation you can do is by writing and practicing. You can watch all the videos in the book in the world, and you can do read as much, but writing is everything. So that's why I actually paid for the writing feedback package. And I think that's the first general big tip, is always get your stuff marked and get some feedback, because you should always know where your strengths and weaknesses are, because in the end, that's what's going to bring you down. So that's very important. And I think this next one is the one, like, this is what made the difference, because I actually did IELTS 3 times. In all 3 times, all my other sections were completely fine. I got a very good score, but in writing, I kept getting less than a 7.5. And it was only till I used IELTS Made Easy by IELTS Buddy book, which is the same one as Tasha said, the IELTS Buddy book. It's like a workbook, and, the points that she made before, it's just really good at, sentence structuring, paragraphing, and just everything what IELTS needs. Now, for my next one was IELTS Simon. I rated higher than IELTS Liz, and IELTS Simon is really good because he'll post a question, he'll show his essay, and he'll dissect it by each post. Like, he'll show why he wrote it this way and tips and tricks. So IELTS Simon is really good, especially if you want to write out essays and compare and use good questions. And lastly, thankfully, I didn't really need any listening or reading or speaking practice or tests. But if you do need it, you can find them easily on YouTube.
So we came up with a few top 10 tips that we think are really important. The first one is start preparation early. You don't want to be in a position where I was doing an exam like every other day at one point, because I was just so stressed out and I wanted the result before the application deadline.
Yeah, I think a good line is a good timeline would be now. December is probably the latest you want to leave to start preparation, at least start preparation. And then your first attempt could be in January, February, because for us, our deadline was a bit extended because of
COVID.
the COVID. But for you guys, the deadline will be August. Trust me, it's not a lot of time because it goes really fast. There will be a lot of work that you need, and on top of that, we are obviously still medical students, and we have MBMEs and exams going on, so that'll take time away. So you really want to start early. You want to know what you're lacking in, and that will take time. You can't become a brilliant writer and pass IELTS overnight. So my second tip is to become a better writer is to look at the mark scheme. If you just Google write-in task band descriptors, you'll exactly see what you can do to get a 9, band 9, a band 8, everything you need. Anything less than 7, so any 6, 5, you need to avoid those mistakes. You get a very good thorough look and understand and really get to know the band descriptors. This will boost your marking.
So number 3, consider a computer-based exam. I mentioned this earlier. It's quicker time to get the results back. As students nowadays, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't written with a pen and a paper in such a long time. I'm faster at typing, so I prefer the computer-based exam. And also for the writing task, I would suggest to write task 2 first. It's the most important 40 minutes of the entire IELTS, in my opinion, because it can either make or break your score. So I would give preference and importance to that first if you're in between like task 1 and task 2, because it is the third section of the whole exam.
Yeah. So tip number 5 is you shouldn't practice on Word or any sort of software that will pick up your spelling mistakes or grammatical errors, because you'll carry this bad habit into the real exam. So the best thing to do is whenever you're practicing your essay, when you're answering a question, you need to do it on the practice paper online, because the grammar check and everything is disabled, and it's also timed. So you need to do it in 40 minutes without anything telling you that what you're doing wrong. And then the next tip is you should, I mentioned this before, but get your essays marked and get some feedback on it. Magdalena, if you just Facebook her, she's actually told me that I can tell you guys that if you want anything, any feedback, if you need any reading, you can send it to her. We all use her. She also ran an IELTS course as well, which was really useful. So definitely use her. She's a legend.
Yeah, on a side note, Maggie really did help us a lot with all of our essays. So tip number 7, for reading, you can highlight in the exam on the computer. I think on paper, I never did paper, but on paper, I'm sure if you have a pen or something, you can underline it. So I would highlight specific things like names, places, dates. This is just going to be quick and easy for you in the exam, so that you're not skimming through the whole like what is it section reading section again. It's just a lot quicker and you'll get through it faster. For reading, because the difficulty level increases as you go through in the 3 sections, you want to spend 10, 20 and then 30 minutes on each section. So section 1, 10 minutes, 2, 20, and then the third one, 30 minutes.
And for listening, I think it's worth reading the questions before the audio starts. So every time she mentioned that there's 4 sections for listening. So before you get into each section, you have a gap. I don't know why, but they give you like a minute or 30 seconds gap or so. So before they start playing the audio, it's worth reading the question so you know what to expect. So if you know exactly that they're going to ask something about bus fare or the bus time, you wait for that in the audio and you're guaranteed to answer it. And the last tip is that if you are close to the score, you should remark, because in the end, I got my score, and I know a few other people that got their score by remarking. So I got a 7 in writing in my final attempt that I passed on. And after a few weeks, it came back with a 7.5, so I was able to apply. And the bonus of it is that if it does go up, you get your money back. But if it doesn't, then you've spent £90,
Yeah.
about 400 zlotys or so.
I think it's about the same for the exam.
Yeah.
It's very similar.
And lastly, like we are just briefly going to speak about OET. Like Jintaris has kindly messaged on the chat. I agree with him completely. Avoid it. I don't recommend it. I don't know anyone who has passed it. It seems like a much easier exam, but it's not, because with IELTS you can practice and you can get there. With OET, the score is way too high. I mean, IELTS score is high as well, but at least there are resources, and it's a better exam to stick with.
Thank you. Sorry, is there any questions that anybody has for IELTS? So someone just said that when you take the IELTS on computer, can you plan on essay on a paper? Yes, so you can bring your own pen in, I think, and they give you a sheet that has your login details. So I'm pretty sure you can use that to plan. I would also suggest that there are certain words that you need to know for IELTS. This can sound really boring, but like subordinate clauses or stuff. I would memorize a few of them and just write them on the piece of paper.
The oral exam is
About
2 hours,
Isn't it 3? It's about 3 hours.
3 hours, I think. If you just add everything up, like it'll be there. Yeah, I would say like I don't know anyone who actually spent time on speaking, listening, or reading.
Yeah.
Those are just some things that will come very natural because we're doing it right now. You're reading constantly medical books, you're speaking constantly, and you're listening all the time. But writing is something that we don't do a lot, especially in our medical school as well. It's all MBMEs and MCQs. Thank you, Mariah. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes. And going back to the computer, the other benefit of using computer is that you can edit your text a lot neater. You can rearrange sentences as well. That's something that I did, especially that helped, because my first attempt was paper-based. And when I was reading back, there were so many mistakes, and I had to rephrase a lot and rearrange a lot that, everything is crossed out, is rubbed out. It just looks, you wouldn't want to read it. But at least on a computer, you can just copy, paste, delete everything, and it's a lot easier.
But you guys have to be really careful of spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes, because they will penalize you for all of them. The computer exam can be held at home, but I don't think that the UKFPO are accepting it.
No, it's only the center now. You can only do it on the center. Salaries will come back later. And in terms of best time to do IELTS, let's say you are in that time period of application. Let's say you are right now 3rd of 4 or 5 of 6, right? Start doing it now. Wake up tomorrow and start doing it, because earlier the better. You don't want to be in the last month worrying about it, because even when you remark if you ask for a remark, they take time. So you want to do it very early. I started in November, and I know we have a friend in our year. He got everything done in October. So for the full year, he was completely relaxed, and he was just focused on his MBMEs and was able to just have a much better time than a lot of us. A lot of us suffered on it. So start doing it now.
Yeah, I left it too late, and I wish I hadn't. Remarking, I think it took a long time, like a month.
It depends, especially because we're in Poland. The issue is that they have to send it to England, to London, to get remarked. So for me, it took me 4 weeks, but my friend who did it in England took 5 days. So yeah, you spend a month waiting for your score to come back, and you don't know whether to take another one.
So IELTS score for England, you need a 7.5 in each section. And for Ireland, it's 6.5 and then 7 overall.
Yeah, so let's say if you get a 7.5 in speaking, listening, and reading, but if you get a 7 in writing, you have to do it again. That's the problem. And to get a 7.5 in writing is a lot harder than a 7.5 in all these other 3 sections. Think about it. None of us would prepare for the 3 sections, and on average we would get in an 8.5 or an 8. And then in writing it was always less than 7.5.
I think IELTS is the same in both because they are regulated, and the UK in Poland, if you do get the test done, they will send some back to the UK for moderation. So I mean, it depends. I never did it in the UK. I only did it in Poland. I do recommend Lang over the British Council, just because I just thought the environment was a lot better and stuff.
Yeah, but like Mariah said, a remark in 2 to 21 days. But for me, for example, they took 30 days or 32 days. And then another friend, they took a long time as well. So don't know.
So for this year, I think some people got away with doing general IELTS. However, it was all up in the air because of COVID and the pandemic. I don't know what the situation is going to be for next year, but historically or even previously, it's been academic always. That's why we've mentioned that in the PowerPoint.
I think they only introduced the general.
But the GMC is different to the UKFPO. As F1 doctors or foundation doctors, we will be applying for UKFP, so we have to get the 7.5 in all.
Yes, we are, but you're first going to the UK FPO and you have to acquire to their requirements. They ask for 7.5. 7 doesn't cut it. 7 is for someone who's going at a consultant or registrar level, someone has jumped UK FPO. Then 7 is fine, but for anyone who's a student, it's a 7.5.
Yeah, because GMC is full registration, so you're a full doctor by that point.
But you start with UKFPO, like foundation program. GMC is for later as well. No problem.
No worries.
Okay, I think that's all the questions. We will be posting this presentation on our Facebook page, and we'll also have this video recorded. So it will go on the episode YouTube page as well, so you guys can rewatch it if you want. Thank you, Mariah. Thank you, Az. Thank you, Tasha. And thank you, Hamza, so much for your help. And if that's all, we will end the meeting now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.